Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Bullard, and this video is going to walk you through how to read a TDA prompt and to unpack it. That means we're going to break it down and look at the pieces and parts so that you know exactly what's being asked of you when you get a question like this. And we call this process to what? What do we have to do? So just make sure that you pause the video so that you can put in the information in your copy of this organizer along with me. And that way, when I'm done, you'll be done and you'll understand exactly what it is you have to do for this essay. So the directions are pretty straightforward. Number one, read the prompt aloud. Number two, highlight all of the actions, or we call those verbs, in the prompt that's asking you to do something. We're going to highlight those in green because green means go and go is an action. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of the direct objects. Those are the what it is you're going to have to do with those verbs, what the verbs are asking you to make or write in this case. Okay, and you're going to highlight those in yellow. And then we're going to add that information to a chart right below it so that you can see exactly what it is that's being asked of you. Okay, so TDA prompts, remember TDA stands for Text Dependent Analysis. And when you take the South Carolina Ready test at the end of the school year, you're going to get one question that's called a TDA. And you will have some sort of a text. It could be a short story, a poem, it could be an informational text, an article of some sort. And then they will ask you a question where you'll have to write an essay response. And you'll have to cite evidence, and everything has to come from that text. So today, your TDA, the text is the book Refugee. And so the question is going to be based in that text. Okay. So the prompt itself is in the box in front of you, in front of your eyes, and it's usually several sentences long. So I'm going to read the first one out loud because that's what the directions say. It says, this novel is organized in a three-plot story structure. Okay, there's nothing that you have to do based on that sentence. It's just a statement. It's a fact, just like a little introduction. But let's look at it. This novel, Refugee, is organized, is put together in a three-plot story structure. So you know there's three plots in this book. There's the Joseph, Isabel, and Mahmoud, three different plots, story structure. Structure just means how something is built. It's how this book was built or put together. So that's just a statement. Second sentence, write an essay explaining how the author's use of story structure communicates a common universal theme. All right, so first thing we're supposed to do, according to the directions, we are supposed to highlight all of the actions or verbs that's asking you to do something in green. So write is a verb. That's definitely an action. That's something that you're going to have to do. So we're going to highlight that word in that bright green. Write an essay explaining. So to explain something is definitely a verb. That's something that you'll have to do in your essay. How the authors use the story structure to communicate. Okay, so those are the only two verbs that you're going to have to actually do something in that second sentence. Let's look at the third sentence. It says cite textual evidence. Cite is something that you actually have to do. Cite is a verb, so we'll highlight that green. And you know, because you've been doing this pretty much all year, citing is when you take a sentence or two or a word, something directly from a text, put quotes around it, put the page number to show where you found it and that those are not your words. That's what cite means, to give credit to the author. So that's where you actually are going to be copying in the words from the novel in this case. It says cite textual evidence from the novel to support. Let's go ahead and highlight support here. You have to make sure this evidence supports your response. And we'll get into what that means when we get it down into this chart. So let's go ahead and just add these words to our chart underneath, under the do section. So write, give myself a little space. I'm going to tab or hit enter twice. Explain is the other verb. Then we talked about cite, and finally support. So that's everything you're going to have to do, your actions for this TDA prompt. Now we have to figure out the what. What is it we're supposed to do with these verbs? And whenever you have an action verb, if you have a noun that follows it, we call that a direct object. Just a little grammar lesson for you. So we're going to be looking for the direct object. So let's go back up to our first verb, write. Okay. What's the noun that follows write? Well, it's essay. That's a thing, right? It's all. You can also find it by asking the question, write what? And the answer would be essay. What do you have to write? An essay. So we're going to go ahead and highlight essay yellow. That's our what. And explain. Explain what? Um, well, how the author's use of story structure communicates a common universal theme. I don't want to highlight all of that. Explain. I'm just going to highlight the main words. I'm going to say story. Um, oh, story structure. Sorry, I'm thinking along as I do this. So let's highlight story structure. That's what we're going to have to explain. And we're also going to have to explain that in terms of a common universal theme. So I'm going to highlight common just to keep it simple theme. Okay. So those are the what's for our verb explaining. Last sentence, the verb is cite. Cite what? You're probably thinking textual evidence. That's exactly right. That's what we're going to have to cite. So highlight textual evidence, yellow. And then the last verb is support. Support what? Your response. Okay. I'm just going to highlight the word response. Now we have all of our what's, what exactly it is we're going to have to write, explain, cite, and support. So in the chart, alongside write, let's go ahead and add the what. We're going to have to write an essay. In this case, it's going to be a 5-paragraph essay, and don't worry, I'm going to walk you through all the parts of that. Then we have explain. Explain what? We're going to have to explain how the story structure communicates a common theme. I'll go back up here and highlight communicates. I left that off. And let me correct that spelling for you. So explain how the story structure communicates a common theme. So basically what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to decide the structure is 3 stories, how all 3 of those stories teach the same theme. And you're going to have to find evidence from all 3 stories. So you want to make sure this big lesson that you're going to write about, you can find evidence in each of the 3 stories. Okay, think about the topics like courage, family, loss. What were some of the other ones we've talked about? Home. Think about those topics because those topics are definitely in all 3 of the stories. And a topic is easy to turn into a theme. Just think about, well, what's the lesson about that topic the author's trying to teach? So we'll get into the details, but that's what I mean by a common theme that all the stories have. Just want to fix my font size there so it matches. All right, cite. Cite what? It's going to be textual evidence. So we're going to have to go into the book and find some quotes. Okay. And then finally, we're going to have to find evidence that supports, it says up here, your response. So we'll put my response. And what that means is it's going to support your thesis. Okay, so go ahead and put thesis, even though that's not in the prompt. I want you to know what that means. So all of this evidence you're going to find, all of it has to go back and support your thesis. And don't worry if you don't know what a thesis is. I'm going to get to that in the next video. So there you go. This is what your TDA is, what it looks like unpacked. You're going to have to write an essay that explains how the story structure communicates one common theme. You'll have to cite textual evidence that supports your thesis, okay, your main argument, which I said we'll get to later, talk about how to write that thesis statement. The last thing I want you to do is, now that you understand the prompt, you've broken it down into the do and what, I want you to, in your own words, just tell me, rewrite the prompt or the task in your own words so that you can really truly understand what the prompt is asking you. So I want you to paraphrase, think of a different way of saying it, but I want you to just kind of restate the prompt in your own words, just to make sure you completely understand what's being asked of you. And when you're done with that, you are done with unpacking the prompt, and you can turn this in, and we will move on to actually writing the introduction in the following video.